29th? Sunday, what am I on about? Friday. It's Friday. That's why my brain's scrambled, because it's Friday. But it's a 3-day weekend. It's a bank holiday for us Brits. Or does Scotland have it as well? I'm not sure. Anyway, we're not at work on Monday, so it's a 3-day weekend. So, and I need it after the week that I've had, because it's been pretty rubbish. So, after doing the Dram A yesterday, which was from R&B Distillers. Now, R&B Distillers, which was set up by Bill Dobby and Alistair Day. R&B stands for Dram A and Borders. So Dram A was the distillery that should be opening next year, with a view of a new single malt coming out in 2020. Borders is their proposed next distillery, which will be based in Peebles, just the other side of the Scottish border, hence being called Borders. Now, like with Dram A, they actually have a release out, of which I have a sample here, which was acquired during my little jaunt to the headquarters of the Whisky Lounge in York. So many thanks to Eddie and Amanda and Joe Clark for, particularly Joe, for helping me out and rooting through all the sample bottles that they've got. This is what the bottle looks like. This is what it looked like when I got it from the guys at the HQ. It's a single grain that they have launched as a sort of this is what we've got. Not that this is what it's necessarily going to taste like, but this is the Borders as in the brand, and ultimately there will be a single malt, or maybe they're looking at a grain distillery. I'm not actually 100% certain. It's possible that they want to do a grain distillery. So the rumour has it that the grain from here, which is apparently 50% malted barley and 50% malted wheat, which is unusual for a grain whisky. But rumour has it that this is actually from the Loch Lomond distillery, because they have not only pot stills, but they've also got column still there as well, so they can do grain whisky. So it's entirely possible, when I was doing Dram A yesterday and they said it was from an undisclosed Highland single malt distillery, it's entirely possible that the Dram A was from Loch Lomond as well. It would kind of make sense that if the grain was from there, they'd probably get the single malt from there as well, but can't say for certain. Like I say, it's just a rumour that I've heard on the grapevine that this in particular, this grain whisky, comes from Loch Lomond distillery. So it's been finished in Oloroso sherry casks, and it's actually been released at 51.7. Yeah, 51.7%, which is a bit of an odd percentage. So it's entirely possible that this is cask strength. Now, there's no age statement on it, or not that I could see on the label, and certainly not in any of the bump I could see. So it's possible that this is fairly old grain whisky, because grain tends to need a bit more aging to really mellow out. And that 51.7, with it being so specific as well as 0.7%, it's entirely possible that this is cask strength as well. So I haven't got any water ready, so I'm hoping I'm not going to need it, otherwise I'm going to have to grab some. But let's see what this is going to be like. So quite a decent sort of, it's a white wine colour, but it's a oaky Chardonnay white wine colour, kind of a deeper, darker. We're not going into amber territory, but it's a nice healthy colour. Difficult to say whether they've added any colouring to it or not having seen the packaging and the actual bottle too in depth. So it's possible the colour's been added. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Now there's quite a nice, there's like a citrusiness, but there's also like a white grape hint, and it's making my nose tickle as well. Yeah, there is a bit of citrus in there, but this is kind of, it's going to make me sneeze now. I don't know, I don't really get hay fever, but maybe there's something in there that's making me sneeze. I really feel like I'm going to sneeze. I don't think I am, I hope not. But yeah, there's sort of like a grapey character to it as well, and almost like a dessert wine, but like a Chateau de Chem kind of, the weird sweetness that you get from Muscat grapes, where it's got this slight tang to it as well. But then there's also a slight kind of lemon zestiness to it. It's a really unusual nose, really distinctive. grapiness really comes through. And there's a nuttiness to it as well. Real kind of like hazelnuts. It's quite drying, but there we go. Big style hazelnuts kicked in there, right on the finish. That is proper Brazil nuts, hazelnuts. You know, like the bowls of nuts that you get at Christmas time. And it's got that drying element of eating those type of nuts as well. All of a sudden it just sucks all the moisture out and it's just pure like nut shells. That is unusual. Now I'm not a big nut fan, and it really tastes like there's a little bit of chocolate in there as well, kind of like dark chocolate, so it's almost like a dark chocolate fruit and nut right in the finish. Now I can taste dark chocolate fruit and nut, not whiskey. Wow, that's really distinctive. Now I'm not a big fan of nuts generally. I'm not a great fan of nuts in food. I like fruit and nut dark chocolate and dairy milk fruit and nut. I absolutely love the stuff. But actual bowls of nuts, I'm not a big fan, to be perfectly honest. And like nuts on desserts and nuts on ice cream, I don't really go for. So this isn't really for me, because it's a flavour that I've never been particularly keen on. But it's really distinctively nuts, which is nuts for a whiskey. That's just craziness. I've not had a whiskey that's had such an obvious, overpowering sense of hazelnuts and Brazil nuts and like praline and that sort of thing. It's full on. I can't believe that. That's really strange. And it's not as sweet as I was expecting it to be, being finished off in Oloroso sherry cask, because normally that gives you a lovely rounded sweetness. And there is a sweetness there, but it's a bit more subdued, it's a bit more in the background. The overriding sense for me is just pure nuts. So personally, I'm not so keen, because it's a flavour that I've never been that keen on. But if you like nuts and you want something different and unusual and very, very distinctive, this is up there with Threeland for such a unique flavour that's really potent, quite powerful, quite full on, but very, very distinctive. With Threeland, it was that real kind of like intense concentration of hay and grass. With Borders, it's an intense concentration of like a bowl of nuts, mixed nuts. It's really distinctive, really unusual. Now Threeland I kind of liked because the flavour, while it was so distinctive, was to my taste, and therefore I could kind of go, actually it's very unusual, but I can understand why people wouldn't like it. I'm not so keen on this because I'm not a fan of nutty flavours. But if you do like nuts, if you like a bowl of nuts at Christmas time and you like cracking shells of Brazil nuts and hazelnuts and munching on them, this is for you. It's a really, really distinctive, really unusual. Wow, yeah, it really is. It's a mouthful of nuts. Take that as you will. Careful, don't be naughty. But I've not had anything like that before. That's doesn't need water either. It's actually quite a good balance. Yeah, the alcohol percentage is not overpowering. It actually balances it quite well. And this nutty praline vibe that's there is so strong that it kind of overpowers the alcohol burn that would be there. Very unusual. Not for me, but for people that do like nuts and that type of flavour, it's well worth getting hold of. I think you're looking at about maybe 45 to 50 quid for this. I'm not sure how limited it is, because the bottle the guys had was actually numbered. So it's entirely possible that this is a fairly limited release. But yeah, very well worth getting hold of. If you're liking that type of flavours, very, very interesting indeed, and unlike anything else I've come across before. So could be very, very interesting. Obviously, it could be completely different to how the single malt ends up when they eventually get around to building the distillery and releasing it. We might be looking at 2025, that sort of thing. But as an unusual, interesting, different expression, worth laying your hands on. Right, I'll have a quick rinse out and then we'll crack on with another one. See you in the next one. Cheers.